Robert Miller celebrating a rare British sporting success this summer. His stage win yesterday reminded us all that the Scotsman could yet have a say in the destiny of this tour. Hello again. Well, we're halfway today and the tour has really come alight. The Frenchman, Laurent Fignon, is the new leader after 2 days in the Pyrenees. Not by much, though. Greg LeMond, who lost the yellow jersey to Fignon on the last crucial climb yesterday, is only 7 seconds adrift in the overall classification. LeMond, in fact, thought that Fignon should have perhaps helped him attack a little earlier yesterday. He didn't. As a result, they both lost time to Pedro Delgado, and LeMond is of the opinion today that Fignon lost his chance to win the Tour as a result. That's the overall classification. Charlie Motte making a move with Delgado yesterday. It's staggering the progress that Delgado has made from last place. Miller's ride did him a power of good. He's 8th overall now, and second behind the Dutchman Gert-Jan Teunissen in the chase for the King of the Mountains jersey. Sean Kelly is 11th overall. He's still in that green jersey for the most consistent finishing, and he's got the combined to add to it. Success for those riders then, but the Tour claimed a number of big-name victims yesterday. Phil Liggett has more.
It's an absolutely marvellously warm summer day down here in Luchon this morning, Richard, and all around us, the Pyrenees, where Robert Miller put up one of the great performances in post-war times in the Tour de France. Going over the top of all the highest mountains in first place was in the quality of all the great riders who've ever taken part in the Tour de France: Eddy Merckx, Louis Mbobe, Fausto Coppi, to name a few. Miller's name will be remembered now for a long time. And what about the devastation he caused behind him? 18 riders either didn't start, gave up, or were disqualified on that day in the Pyrenees. Amongst the non-starters, of course, Stephen Roche, and I find that very, very sad indeed. But look now at the men who were disqualified. John-Paul van Poppel, a winner of 4 stages last year, he was taken out because he received 20 pushes on the mountains. Also gone, John Tarlan, the leader of the Catch Series, he was eliminated, and Eric van der Arden, another rider eliminated who could have won stages for the Panasonic team. This has been a great tour so far, but my goodness me, those riders from Panasonic out, that is quite remarkable. Now, of course, Robert Miller is just 12 points behind Gert-Jan Teunissen in the King of the Mountains competition. Today, there aren't any mountains by the standard of Miller to really attack and get the lead there. He might try, we'll have to wait and see, but I think he'll wait now and go again in the Alps. So today, we may find on the road to Blagnac a small group escaping. Let's hope that in that small group we have Sean Yates. And that would make a great 2 days for Britain, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be nice if Yates could steal the headlines tonight. We'll keep our fingers crossed for him. The stage today, 154.5 kilometres, 96 miles. It's a good deal flatter than it's been over the past couple of days, which might encourage 1 or 2 of the sprinters out of the bunch. Before we join the action, we heard that the Kelmer team started the day with just 2 riders left in the Tour, Fabio Parra plus 1. The very latest is that they've both abandoned. Phil Liggett, tell us more. Phil.
Well, Richard, Fabio Parra, a pre-race favourite, as you rightly say, is now out of the Tour de France. For him, all the trouble started today on the climb of the Col des Arts. It's not a climb by real standards. Gert Teunissen in the spotted jersey here goes for the top of the climb, chased by Cornier, Stephen Rox and Miller in here as well. But at the back of this lot, Parra was being left behind. Teunissen won the climb, Miller went over the top in 5th place, so he stays in touch in the King of the Mountains. It was on the Col de Buret, the next climb, where in fact Parra was still in trouble. The leaders stayed away from the front here. It was Rolf Goltz who went over the top first, Rudy Darnans was second, and the Frenchman Christophe Leven was in 3rd place. Parra then fought his way back into the peloton soon after that climb, and then he stopped along with his teammate Roncancio, and together they retired. Roncancio obviously feeling, as a domestique, with his leader out and he the only rider left in the race, there was no point in continuing. All 9 men from the Kelmer team are out of the Tour de France, and they're heading back to Spain today. And we can now catch up with the race, which today really has been an excellent race. It's constantly split. We're looking at the 3 leaders at the moment: Michel Vermont, Marshall Gayant and Herman Frison. These 3 riders have been away for about 30 kilometres. They had a lead of over 1 minute. It's now down to just 40 seconds, and the whole field, here they are closing fast. It's been a good day for the Irish, especially Sean Kelly, because he won the first catch sprint today, and that's increased not only his lead in the green jersey competition, but he has become also the new leader now in the catch competition. So at this moment in the Tour de France, Sean Kelly leads in 3 of the major competitions. So Kelly is back to his old self. It looks here as though the field will not take much longer now to bring back these 3 riders. This is Ver.Ⅱ, the Belgian rider, at the front. Michel Vermont is at the back, and the man in the middle is Marshall Gayon.
Well, Phil, at the moment, the bunch were trying to come back a little bit there. You've got Marshall Gayon going to the front to keep the tempo up. But when we got that last little shot of the peloton, they looked a little bit undecided. You had Ronnie van Holen from ADR on the front, and it looked as if they were sitting up a little bit. It's really up to the sprinters, but there were a lot of sprinters eliminated from the race yesterday. Van der Aarden and Van Poppel were eliminated from the Panasonic team, so I can't really see the Panasonics taking much interest in the chase here at all. There is one rider who has jumped away from this group, actually, and that is Ver.Ⅱ from the Ver.Ⅱ team. He's jumped away, and behind, getting a check now that the gap has opened up again from 32 seconds back up to 58. So the peloton not over-decided on chasing these riders down, but there's still quite a long way to go.
Well, surprisingly, coming out of the Pyrenees, we expected something of a gentle ride, but completely the opposite has happened. The race has been continuing well up on schedule throughout. Here's Bernard Hinault, 5 times winner, shouting at the 3 leaders here. The latest check, which is just inside the minute. And this has been a very rapid race indeed. There was a special award today. We passed through the 1,789th kilometre of the event, 1789, 200 years after the French Revolution, and the prize, not surprisingly, was £1,789. That was won by Jos Hacks of Belgium. He was leading by just 15 seconds at the sprint, and that had been an epic chase because he only just managed to stay out front to snatch the sprint before he was swallowed up. And it was soon after that that the break went clear. We've seen the 3 leaders. Here is Ver.Ⅱ, 26 seconds behind the 3, and if these 4 get together, it might be enough to give the 4 the chance to escape for the finish. Tough climbs of the Pyrenees behind the riders now, but Ver.Ⅱ here finding one of the gentle slopes quite enough for today. It's all gently downhill to Blagnac and the airport just outside Toulouse. We started from here a year ago, from the Aerospatiale, where the original Concorde was built for the French. And there we can see the yellow jersey for the first time of Laurent Fignon. I think yesterday he was so frustrated with Greg LeMond always riding at his side but never setting the pace that in the end he decided to end everybody's agony here in France and snatch those 5 seconds back just before the finish at Super Bagnères, which he did, of course. He now leads the race by just 7 seconds. It could still be a bunch sprint, and the possibility of a win for the man in green down there, Sean Kelly. Stay with us and come back after the break.
Welcome back. We're on stage 11 of this year's Tour de France. That's exactly halfway. There's been plenty going on so far, and it promises to continue much in that vein as well. When we left the race a couple of minutes ago, we had 3 riders away from the main bunch: Ⅱ, Vermont and Marshall Gayon. As we go back, Phil, what's happening?
And this is what's happening, Richard. This group has brought them back. It's the Patanina team. They're down to just 10 seconds. And the 3 leaders are going to be caught as we run in towards the finish of Blagnac. And the reason the Patanina team here are bringing the whole race back together is that with Jean-Paul Van Poppel, Eric van der Aarden and all the sprinters out of the race of significance, their man, Mathieu Hermans, has a real chance of victory now. And so the Patanina team have done their job well. They've swept up the 3 breakaways, and now they will hope that Mathieu Hermans can do his job in the big sprint finish. He's a specialist in the sprint. He's won 5 stages in the Tour of Spain, and he really can produce the finish. But there are others, of course. You've got Etienne de Wilde here, and perhaps even Sean Kelly will find this finish to his liking now, because Sean is getting confident as the days go on in the Tour de France. He's now the leader in the 3 classifications: the catch, performance, and of course the most consistent daily finisher, and he wears the green jersey for that. and it could well be that Kelly will come home first. It's certainly, Paul, the sort of finish that Sean Kelly would have liked in the good old days when he used to win stages in the Tour de France.
Well, it's a very fast finish, but there are also one or two other riders in there who'll be thinking of a chance as well of trying to win a sprint like this. Steve Bowers seems to have been very active today, as also does Eddie Plancart, who's been riding near the front of the bunch. Ver.Ⅱ, by the way, just before that group got caught, he jumped away, but it's not going to stay. He's not going to stay away very long, because just there in the back of the background, you can see the Patanina team pulling him back. And I think as he goes around that corner, I think he's just sat up.
And looking down on the Patanina riders, it's nice to see this new team coming to the front. And they've got all of their riders working extremely hard up there now for Mathieu Hermans. Interesting to see if their tactics work today. There's Sean Kelly in the green jersey. He's just slightly away from us, lost under the trails of our helicopter there, but we're back down on the road now. It's been a marvellously active race today, and surprisingly, no one has managed to slip away. They've been constantly splitting, even the main field at one stage today. They had a marvellous chase across the open plains when the main field split in two complete halves, and Miguel Indurain was in the second group along with Luis Herrera, but the chase was on for about 30 kilometres before they all finally came back together again. There's Kelly, middle of our screen at the far back, number 16. Keeping an eye on things from afar. Teun van Vliet moving up nicely on the inside of Kelly and moving up to the lead. The Panasonics have had a disastrous day in the Tour yesterday in the Pyrenees, and in fact they now have only 5 men left in the race, 6 men left in the race. Peter Post will not be at all happy with them, because he's a strict manager, and somebody's shot off on the far side of the road. The Pataninas are stepping on the gas, and they're going to have to chase. Now it's one of the Helvetia boys who's gone clear, and it looks like Bauer's teammate Gianetti, the last man in the race.
Amazing thing about Gianetti, Phil, is at the start of the race he had a problem, and at the moment he's got a fracture of his nose. It's not a very severe one, but it goes to show he's been encouraged by his team manager Paul Costley all the way through this Tour to remember that Ver.Ⅱ, when he won his last Tour de France, actually finished with a broken nose.
Gianetti, who actually should have worn the King of the Mountains jersey on the first day in Luxembourg, and the organisation forgot to award it to him. So it's an honour he's never had.
It's like Alfred Ackermann going across there from the Domix team, and this is just exactly what I said the Patanina team had to look out for. They've done all the work to keep the race together, exactly what happened to the Panasonic team in the 2 flat stages earlier in the Tour. They've got so few men to control the race that they get it so close to the finish, and everybody then tries to attack and get away.
The Gianetti, Helvetia team, with Steve Bauer as their leader, but Steve Bauer doesn't seem to be the force he was last year when he wore the yellow jersey on 2 occasions and then finally finished 4th in the Tour de France. In fact, Steve Bauer is at the moment lagging behind in the overall classification by some considerable way. Well, somebody's going to take the chance. Gianetti's done it now. Alfred Ackermann is trying to catch up, but it's not going to work because they're all coming up to Ackermann, and let's see where Gianetti is, and he's going to be caught very quickly as well. TVM team starting to launch 1 or 2 attacks here. But it's these late attacks which could spoil a sprint victory. They could spoil it for Hermans, Kelly, Eddie Plancart, and Etienne de Wilde. Gianetti being joined by a PDM rider. It could well be our old friend Rudy Darnans. And
it's Rudy Darnans.
It is Rudy Darnans who's come up to join him.
And it looks like there's Eddie Plancart, who's just slipped across into this little group as well, Phil.
Well, there's a man to watch. Eddie Plancart, who won the green jersey last year. He hasn't been a 4th this year, but he'll look for his stage win. And if they've allowed a sprinter like Plancart to go across to that breakaway, well, the rest of the riders may as well stop riding because they won't beat him. There he is in 2nd place of this line now. Pure sprinter Plancart as he goes across. Madio's also joined them at the tail. He's now 4th in line, Marc Madio. So we've got Plancart, Rudy Darnans is there, the TVM rider who's just come up. It looks like Jan Siemens. No, it's not. It's Jack Hanegraaff who's come up. He's going through now in second place. As we go through the 5 kilometres to go banner. Plankett's the boy in green, and now they know he's there. They're not going to be at all pleased, because if they carry him to the finish, Eddie will get the stage win for sure. Demon sprinter, and one of a very famous family, Eddie, Walter and Willie Plankett, between them, have all won the green jersey in the Tour de France. And Rudy Darlens has had a great tour too for the PDM team. Like all the riders in the PDM team, they seem to be totally inspired. They're the team leaders of the tour now, after they packed so well yesterday at the finish at Super Bagnaia, taking the lead away from Laurent Fignon's team. And of course they have on that team Stephen Rooks, Sean Kelly and Jan Ternisse. There he is, Darlens, and the field are trying to send men across. Emissaries joining the leaders, Marc Madio going through. This is Plankett passing down the line, having done his share of pacemaking. The sprinters obviously realise that this race might well split in these last couple of kilometres. He's moved to the front group. And we think that Philippe Cassido has possibly joined at the back of this group. Winner of a stage at the milk race in Bournemouth a couple of years ago. And the System U rider might well be Ver.Ⅱ. All going across. Looks like the red jersey of Southern Lilholt is trying to bridge the gap. There's a gentleman there getting the best pictures of the lot. Live radio call from the back of a motorbike in the middle of the Tour de France. In fact, it's Pascal Richard in a champion's jersey of Switzerland here, the second man in line. Possibly Rick van Slyke also moving there with him, but the bunch are coming to chase them down. This is going to be a great finish again today. Fignon's here, look, being paced by Christophe Lavenne. Fignon brings him up. Fignon is putting his force now to the riders to let them know that he still has plenty of strength in those legs. Laurent Fignon has come across to the leaders, so the race is regrouping here. Teun van Vliet is the rider behind Fignon. The red jersey of Pascal Richard, the yellow and red jersey of the champion of Belgium, Carlos Bomans. Now, these riders playing around, that's Cassido. This, I think, is possibly Gianetti going away again, but still up front, we haven't yet noted the coming back of Rudy Darlens. And that looks like Rudy over there, Paul.
Yeah, Darlens, as soon as the junction was made, he took one page out of the handbook, and he took a flyer just as the group came back together. A good move by Rudy Darlens, who's won a stage like this before in Bordeaux. He was in a small breakaway group, but just as the bunch was coming back again, he slipped clear. But obviously the chase has been taken up by Gianetti, but Darlens has gone at a very good psychological time. If he can just get into the streets of Blagnac here, he might be able to pull this off. If we can look back down the road there, you can see the whole bunch is back together now, and they're chasing him like anything.
Well, he's going to have a hard fight, because he'll race into a headwind for the finish, and that's a difficult finish for a man who's alone when all the field behind you can see you. He's an extremely nice cyclist, the way he sits on the bike here and lets the legs do the work. Almost a perfect position, that, Paul.
Amazing thing about Darlens is he doesn't move very much of the upper part of his body, and he's so strong, which means he's been riding for a long time in Belgium, and it amazes me the strength that this rider has. He's not very far clear now, maybe 5 or 6 seconds, and you can see the attacks going all the time at the back. That's one of the Histor team, but straight away onto his wheel there, it looks like it was one of the ADR riders.
Of course, the ADR team contains Eddie Plankett. The Histor team stepping on the gas, because they have a good sprinter left in the race too, Etienne de Wilde, last year's champion of Belgium. And Herman Friesen was the early attacker who's come back, so their plans will now have to change a little bit. But Darlens is going extremely smoothly. He'll just keep the rhythm up as fast as he can pedal, and hope that the action behind will slow down as we go into the last kilometre. It's a real possibility now for Rudy Darlens, but he will swing into a headwind for the finish. And of course the field behind, nobody can stop them once they see that kilometre kite. Everybody wants the result. It's £5,000 to every stage winner of the Tour de France. And the big question is now, can Darlens survive? Because they're hesitating a little bit. Nobody wants to start the attack because they all want to be first. There's the first one going across the road. It looks like it could be Gianetti again. It might even be the team leader of Helvetia. It could be Steve Bauer, but he's been picked up anyway. Now Dornan swings into the headwind. Oh, he's gone down! Rudy Dornan has missed the bend, grabs his bike as he'll watch the race go by. Oh dear me, how sad for Rudy Dornan as Steve Bauer comes through now. Dornan can only watch the end of this stage of the Tour de France. Bauer going for goal, and I'm not surprised the poor man's crying. Dornan's had this race sewed up, and Bauer now comes for the finish. He looks over his shoulder. Steve Bauer, it's not a great sprint. I think it's Turn Van Vliet behind him. And Turn Van Vliet goes to the right of the road, and Van Vliet is trying to get this now. Bauer's swept away, and it looks like Mathieu Hermans is taking him. Mathieu Hermans gets him on the line. The rider the Patanini worked for. Hermans gets it. Plankett, I think, is second, and it all worked out so well in the end for the Patanina boys. But what a tragedy for Rudy Dornan, and I must say, my heart went with him on that bend, because what a way to lose a stage of the Tour de France in sight of the finish. And there he is, the sad man of the day, because I feel he would have won the Tour today. And here's how Mathieu Hermans brought the goods home for the Patanina team. They did so well to close the race down, and look at this, then he used his sprint, a clear length to the line. Plankett is the man directly in his slipstream, and I think he may just have got second, certainly third. Kelly there, not far away, fifth as well. And the yellow jersey and the 7 seconds advantage are safely conserved by Laurent Fignon. The crowd in Blagnac now saluting again the French leader of the Tour de France.
Well, that was tough on Rudy Dornan, wasn't it? He was going to win that stage until his tyre came off there on the final bend. Of course, Dornan gets the same time as the rest of the riders because he was inside the final kilometre. But that, as you can see by his reaction at the finish, was scant consolation. Phil, in the event, called it some way out. That's the 1 to 6. Mathieu Hermans from the Caguretta team. Fidanza was second, and Eddie Plankett third. Sean Kelly finished fifth. And this is developing into quite a tour for Sean Kelly. He improved his position in the chase for the green points jersey today. He pulled on the overall multicoloured performance jersey again as well today. And as if to confirm that, Kelly has now got the red catch sprints jersey as well. He'll be hot in that little lot tomorrow, won't he? This is the overall classification. No change, in fact. It's still Fignon by 7 seconds from Greg LeMond. Robert Miller stays 8th, and Kelly is 11th